For more on clean energy, I'm joined by Kevin Smith, the Chief Executive Officer of SolarReserve. It's a company that develops global solar power projects. So Kevin, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
China and India now leading the world in developing solar power. Is this a temporary or a long-term trend?
I think it's a long-term trend, certainly. Both those countries, obviously, they're huge population centers. They're also growing economies. So you see 6, 7, 8% increase in electricity demand, and right now solar energy and wind are amongst the cheapest forms of new energy. So you're going to see a huge amount of deployment in those markets.
We talked about the huge investment. China has more solar energy capacity than any other country in the world. Are all of these extensive solar projects worth the millions that China is spending on all these projects so far?
Well, I think generally yes. I think the big issue that China is going to be grappling with in the future is energy storage. The difficulty with PV projects, solar projects, and with wind is you only get power when the sun shines or the wind blows, and it maybe it doesn't completely line up with demand requirements. So the big issue for China with utilizing those plants that they built and with increasing the demand as they go forward is energy storage. How do you store energy so that you can provide that power on demand as opposed to when it's available?
We've seen all these reports recently that the planet is in trouble. So when you talk about renewable energy, is solar, for example, a practical solution when it comes to helping countries like China reach their goals that they've set under the Paris Climate Accord?
Well, definitely, and it's way more than just a practical solution to climate change. It's also a solution to cost-effective, sustainable energy going forward. So, prices have gone down dramatically over the last, 6, 8 years, and now, like I said, solar and wind are amongst the lowest price energy for new projects that you can build. So cheaper than coal, cheaper than natural gas, cheaper than nuclear, certainly. And so it's not only a solution for climate change, it's also a big solution for a reduced energy cost. And it's a big job creator as well.
So why does it seem more developed countries are slowing down when it comes to green energy production compared to developing countries?
Well, for the most part, the developing countries have larger demand for new energy, new projects, increasing electricity demand. Like I said, China, India, other markets, you see them more in the 5, 6, 7, 8% new electricity demand per year. A lot of the developed nations, including the U.S., have fairly flat increased in electricity demand, maybe 1 or 2%. U.S. has been fairly flat for the last few years. Efficiency programs have leveled out energy demand, so you don't see as much growth, maybe 1 or 2% in good years. So a lot of the deployment of renewable energy is replacement of existing, as opposed to in developing markets where you're largely building new energy sources to meet new demand.
And are you optimistic when you hear all these dire predictions lately that some of what we're seeing when it comes to renewable energy will really make a difference?
Well, yes. I mean, we have to be optimistic. We have to continue to push hard on these types of technologies and move forward. Certainly doesn't make any sense to take the risk that it's not going to work. So we need to push hard on these programs. I think the deployment of solar energy is increasing at a rate that people didn't expect a few years ago. So hopefully that trend continues, both solar and wind, and we can move forward with the cleaner economies and cleaner technologies, and also, like I said, tremendous job growth activities in those markets.